Since its release back in the late 1970s, Star Wars has been one of the most beloved and pioneering movie series of all. Oh, baby, is that Studio Trigger? I am a huge anime fan, and as soon as the series was announced, I was extremely excited about these studios being able to add their new and innovative ideas to one of my most beloved childhood series. Unfortunately, after watching the series, I was a bit let down by some of the episodes. I find it hard to give the entire series a single score because all the stories are independent of each other, so I've decided to go through and do about a 30-second review of every episode and give them scores individually to keep it fair. The Duel. I came into this episode with pretty low expectations. I've never been a fan of the 3D animation in the anime industry. That's more of a personal bias, but I thought it would be worth mentioning. In this story, a Ronin traveling with his droid comes across a town that is plagued by bandits. I'm not going to go that much into the spoilers, but in the end, the animation did not disappoint, and there was not much needed for someone to be entertained by this action-focused episode. I would give this one a 7 out of 10. Tatooine Rhapsody. This is a story of a Jedi that ran from his past and joined a band, I guess. This seemed to be one of the ones that didn't really fall on any side of the story beats. I didn't really like the story in general, and the music in this episode was cringy at best. They did make a lot of references to Jabba the Hutt, and he was actually in the episode, but in the end, I think this is probably one of the weakest episodes of the bunch. I would probably give this one a 4 out of 10. Episode 3, The Twins. This is the story of two Sith twins born of the dark side. One betrays the other and turns to the light. That is really a general breakdown of everything that happens in this episode besides all the fancy animation. Going in, this was actually the one that I was most excited to see and probably the one that I was most disappointed about. It's not that it was bad, it just ended up being mediocre at best. The animation was obviously spectacular, but the story kind of fell flat for me. For this one, I would probably give it a 6 out of 10. Episode 4, The Village Bride. This episode follows the same story type as The Duel. Bandits have been terrorizing the town, blah blah blah. But in my eyes, this is done far better. Instead of focusing more on the action, it's primarily focused on the characters in the village and the issues they have been suffering through. The main character plays more of a bystander role, but I think it somehow really works a lot better. The story hits all the emotional beats, and I became more invested in this episode than any other in the series. Easy 9 out of 10. Plus, there was a funny moment during the start of the climactic moment when my wife pointed out that the main antagonist looks like a Pokemon villain, and I could not argue with her. This is what is generally seen as the best episode in the series, and I can definitely see why. This is a story of 8 Jedi coming together after the knowledge of how to create a lightsaber has been lost. They've been drawn to this one singular place after they received a message that they would, if they were to come, they would receive a lightsaber. That's really more the setup of the story than what it's actually about, but I don't really want to say more than that because there's really a lot of spoilers in this one. You could really tell that the writers are looking for that sweet, sweet Disney money, as they were really meant to set up a series with this. I would also give this one a 9 out of 10. Episode 6, T0-B1. This is the story of a scientist that has been terraforming a planet with the help of his robotic companions. TO-B1 is his childlike robot that dreams of becoming a Jedi. The series gives me serious Astro Boy vibes. The story is pretty good, but I feel like it's a bit weaker on the animation side, and some of the impact of the story is lost. I would probably give this one another 6 out of 10. Episode 7, The Elder. The Elder is focused on a Jedi and Padawan that make their way to a distant planet and find that a dark force resides there. Slight spoiler, it's a Jedi. I guess I have a different opinion than most of the general populace about this episode, but I find that it wasn't very good at all. The dialogue was very, very forced, the story was kind of weak, and it seemed to fall short of what it could really be. It just seemed to not meet the expectations of what it could have been, so I'm probably giving this one a 6 out of 10. Episode 8, Lop and Oko. This short review contains a spoiler. If you would like to skip, please go to the next one. I would probably give this episode a 7 out of 10. Focusing on a family that has been working with the Empire to quote-unquote help their family. This is primarily focused on a bunny girl, Lop, that has been saved after she escaped from being a slave to the Empire. Lop is trying to keep the peace between her sister and her father after her sister turns to the Empire and her father wishes to become independent from them. This one ends up being a pretty good, but some of the dialogue does seem forced, and they kind of push through the beginning of the episode just kind of to get things rolling. I think that's really where the weakness comes from and kind of where the uncomfortable pacing is at. I gave my score at the beginning. I would give it a 7 out of 10. Episode 9, Akakiri. This is the story of an emperor's daughter that has fled her home after it was taken over by a Sith. She goes to an old Jedi friend to help to retake the capital, and the story focuses primarily on their journey making it to the capital with their two wacky guides. I don't even remember their names, that's how forgettable they are. Generally, I don't think this has forced pacing or anything like that, and the dialogue seems pretty natural, but I feel like it just kind of fell short as well. I would probably give it between a 6 and a 7, so we'll just go 6.5 out of 10. All in all, the series is good enough for a watch, but there's definitely some episodes I would skip. If you aren't too interested in Star Wars, probably just watch episodes 4 and 5, and I think you'd be pretty happy if you're an anime fan. Please let me know in the comments below if there's anything else you'd like me to review, and I would be happy to try. I'll see you next time.